Hello and welcome to NPC. That stands for Next Portable Console. It's a show about the games we take with us. My name, as always, is Brendon Bigley. I'm here with two very sleepy boys. We're gonna have a real chill episode here. I'm here with John Voorhees.
Hey! I'm waiting for that day when it's no longer my name, as always, is Brendon Bigley. I'm waiting for the exception to the rule. That's what I'm waiting for.
Okay, yeah, we'll come up with something new next time. And I'm also here with Federico Vitici, who may or may not have taken a little nap right before this recording.
Hello. I am incredibly jet lagged. I came back from California last night, and my body thinks it's 4 a.m., 5 a.m. right now, which is fun. I fell asleep right before doing this episode and despite all of the espresso that I tried to put into myself this morning, it's doing absolutely nothing. So
did I wake you up with my text message? That's what I want to know.
I didn't even see it. I don't know. My dogs woke me up. So yeah.
But they know when NPC is.
No, they know when they gotta eat. That's the problem.
Oh, I got it.
That's true. That's what dogs are good for.
Yes.
Knowing when to eat the food. This is like a little preview of what it's going to be like when I come back from Japan. Definitely, this is going to be me. You guys are going to have to carry the burden. Yeah,
look at
sleepy weight.
this. This will be you.
This will be me. I'm seeing my own future. We have a bunch of things to talk about in the news today. I'm just going to take us through the whole episode. We have a bunch of things to talk about in the news today. Starting off with the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, which has been getting some more coverage because people seem to like it a lot. I was just talking to John before we started recording that I have been on a hunt to find one in Japan, in Tokyo, which is like nigh impossible, is how I'd put it so far. I have not been able to scout out a Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller yet, but I'm dying to get one, and I wanted both of your takes real quick, how you're feeling about the Pro controller if you've been using it more.
I still love it, but I didn't bring it with me to WWDC. I think John brought it.
I love it. I brought it because I thought Federico and I might have a chance to play a little Mario Kart
Absolutely not.
But we were too busy. But I still love it. Yeah, I mean, I think the build is a lot better than the old one. It's quiet.
Yeah.
The sticks feel good. Who knows whether they'll end up with drift, but overall, other than it being more expensive than I would prefer, I'm really happy with it.
Yeah. It just occurred to me, for people listening at home, we did not contextualize at all why you guys are so tired.
Oh, yeah.
So,
that's true.
Please
Federico
do it.
and John just came back from WWDC, which is Apple's developer conference.
Yeah, we weren't out clubbing last night.
Federico and John were they were out they were out seeing a Daft Punk reunion tour. Sorry you missed it, and it was never recorded. No one will ever see it. But anyway, they're at WWDC doing a whole bunch of stuff. You should go check out Mac Stories if you want to see that coverage, which has been very good and very helpful for me because a lot of that stuff was happening in the middle of the night, my time. So being able to wake up and watch and read all your stuff was very helpful.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I think the team has been doing an incredible job, if anything, like just for my sake, so that now I can sort of slowly catch up on the things that I missed. Because the thing is, while we were out there, both John and I were so busy, going in between briefings and demos and talking to people. I believe there was a whole chunk of Monday or Tuesday where John didn't see me for like half a day or something. And people were asking John, like, where's Federico? And he was like, I don't know. He's somewhere.
Who knows?
He's somewhere around here.
But there's gonna be a lot more coming on Mac Stories very soon, and
nice.
I'm very, very happy with how the week went. But yes, that is why I am so incredibly jet lagged. It was basically like a 24-hour trip when you account for time zones, and I had like a 5-hour layover in Germany. It was a whole thing.
Oh,
yeah. So
that's tough.
I came back, and what is normally a 5.5-hour trip became, I might as well have flown to Europe because it was like a 9-hour trip because we landed in Charlotte and had to wait for storms to pass. So I was on a sweaty plane with a packed full of people for over 3 hours. But I got home around 2 a.m. last night.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, more power to both of you. I feel for you in my heart of hearts. The last time I came back from Japan, I had like a 6-hour layover in Canada that was supposed to be like a 1-hour layover.
Oh, fun.
So I really, and then I went immediately into the office the next morning, which was maybe the biggest mistake I've made.
Ooh.
Travel related.
That's kind of what we're doing right here. This is the
That's
office.
Honestly, true. You're right. Let me just wrap up the Pro Controller thing real quick.
Yeah.
I have been iffy about getting one because of my experience with the Switch 1 Pro Controller. I had 2 of them over the course of that life cycle. Both of them developed drift at a certain point, which is a huge bummer. I'm choosing to believe the blogs on Nintendo.com that say that drift is like less prevalent, at least. I mean, they name checked it. They mentioned, that like they did something to the analog sticks to make them less prone to drift. So I'm hoping that that's the case. The Switch 1 Pro controllers, for me, both of them ended up developing drift around the same time, like 6 years into owning both of them, which I think is pretty remarkable. So if that's the case with the Switch 2, I want that Pro controller. Everybody seems to really love it. We'll link to a review from Retro Game Core. Russ did a review of it, which was really great. He also really likes it a lot. It seems like a great thing, and maybe that's why I can't find it no matter how many stores I visit in Japan. I'll talk more about buying some accessories for the Switch 2 in a little bit, but yeah. Anyway, another thing that's Switch 2 related, and it's a big number. The Nintendo Switch 2 has sold 3.5 million units worldwide as of its first 4 days. That's from Nintendo's own website.
Yeah,
oh
4 days.
Is that the fastest? Is it the fastest?
It is.
Oh, whoa, okay.
Yeah, it's the fastest selling console ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's funny because Nintendo contextualized it as it's the fastest selling Nintendo console and not the fastest selling console, which it also is.
Yes.
Like, it beat
Are
the
there
PS5.
other consoles beyond Nintendo?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Increasingly not, especially considering the prices being raised for every other console as well.
And also, to put it in context, I think the original Switch sold about 2.7 million in the first month. This is the first 4 days.
Oh my God.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, I saw the numbers in Japan specifically were around 950,000 units just in Japan. Wow. After 2 million pre-orders, almost half of those people ended up following through and actually buying, which is like pretty wild. I mean, look, the Switch 2 I think was always going to sell a lot. And I think will continue to sell a lot. It's interesting to see, I think, the turn a little bit in sentiment about the Switch 2. I don't know if you guys witnessed that at all, because you were so busy with WWDC, but like, I've at least noticed online the sentiment has shifted a little bit because of the kind of weaker launch lineup. It's like basically
I've noticed that.
One game and then a bunch of other re-releases or upgrades, quote unquote, which is very interesting. But everyone who has one really seems to enjoy it, including me. I have a Nintendo Switch 2 now.
Oh, you got yours.
Yet.
Yes, it arrived in Japan.
I got one, baby. Here it is, the Nintendo Switch 2. Very excited about it. I've been playing it a whole lot. I'm going to talk about it later in the episode. But yeah, I don't know. It's the hardware itself is great. It's just the software lineup is a little bit lacking, and because of that, people are like, the Switch 2 is dead on arrival, which is such a dumb take, I think, because like wait 6 months and that won't be the case anymore. Like, it's so quickly this is going to turn around. And I think one thing that I've seen a lot of people mentioning too is like, we actually have no idea what Nintendo has lined up for the holiday this year as well. Like their holiday lineup is totally in the dark, which means there's something interesting realistically, because now we're just hitting reset on every single franchise that they have, right? So there's definitely something interesting in the works. And B, they'll probably have a lot of little interesting things, because as far as we know, there's a bunch of stuff that's like sitting on the shelf as well too, knowing Nintendo. So all in all, interesting launch window. I think the Switch 2 long term will sell very well realistically. And I'm excited. I'm excited about the life cycle.
What do you think, Brendon, about when we'll see more announcements? Because obviously we have Donkey Kong coming up in like 3 weeks roughly.
Yeah.
And I would think that maybe going into that launch, we might have a direct where we'll get people excited about Donkey Kong again, and then also maybe reveal a few more things coming later in the summer and into the fall.
Yeah. We have the Donkey Kong coming soon, I think. They might consider what they did at the Nintendo Treehouse to be like the Donkey Kong Direct in a way, because they showed a lot of that game.
They did
during the Treehouse.
They did.
So I'm wondering, like, next time we see a direct, I could see that being like the kind of September-ish direct that we get every once in a while. That feels like probably the next time we'll get like a big info dump from them, if I was to guess. But who knows? I mean, Nintendo's wily. There's no way of ever knowing what they're up to. But I know, we have Donkey Kong, and then the other big title that's on the top of my head is Pokemon Legends ZA, which is like when that drops, that's going to be a big deal, obviously. Even if people hate it, that's going to be a big deal. So either way, I think there's a lot more coming. But also, if that were to happen, that'll probably be a Pokemon Direct. Point being, I'm guessing September. I'm going to shoot my shot from here. It's a 3-pointer. We'll see if I nail it or not.
Okay, all right. We'll check back in. Yeah,
we'll find out. Moving on, a couple more quick news items. AYANEO has released or is releasing a new version of the Flip, which is called the AYANEO Flip 1S. We talked about the AYANEO Flip when that first was announced and was first launched, and we also talked about it again when they mysteriously stopped sending out units to people who had ordered them and then refunded them and then pretended that it didn't exist and then announced this new one. I don't know what's going on with AYANEO. I don't know why anyone would continue to buy stuff from them while they continue to do that stuff. I'm feeling pretty weird about them. But hey, they have this thing. It's going to be very expensive. It's got a 16:9 screen with 800 nits of brightness. Is that exciting? 800 nits? Is that bright?
That's very bright compared to most handhelds.
That's a lot of nits.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And the bottom screen is a 3x2 screen with only 550 nits of brightness. So,
boo. You don't need
exactly.
You don't
John's
need the nits you don't need it for your maps, I mean, playing your DS games.
Yeah, lower. Everybody's saying this, but lower nits makes the map look more real, right?
Exactly. It looks more like an old map. Yes.
I'm excited for reviewers to get this and tell me if it's good or not, and then not buy one personally.
Yes,
that's how I feel about the AYANEO Flip 1S. It's cool that people are making dual screen devices. I'll say that. Like, I'm glad that we're like in that space, and I'm hoping that trickles down even more into more budget stuff from like the Retroids of the world. But for now, I don't think this thing's gonna be for me. It's got a Ryzen 9 HX 370 in there.
Yeah, that's gotta be.
It's
expensive.
Gonna be pricey,
very expensive.
That is an expensive one.
Did you guys see that Retroid put out this thing where you can add a screen?
Yes.
What do you think of that? I can't. I'm not really sure.
They're making
what to think about.
They're basically making an accessory to add a second screen on top of like compatible Retroid consoles, but I bet like that's gonna be a USB-C display, so that's gonna be compatible with just about anything. In fact, I would say you can plug that thing in the side of an iPad Pro or something, and it's gonna work because it's just gonna be a USB-C display. Now, what's strange about it is that the emulator support on Android for dual screens is very limited right now. I think there's like a handful of emulators that work well with 2-screen setups. So that's gonna be fast. Like the market for that accessory is so small. Like it's already like a niche market, right? The Retroid handhelds, and then it's like the niche of a niche of a niche. Like that'll be fascinating to see.
Yeah, it's OLED, which is cool, and it's also pretty cheap. I think it's like $60 or $70. Like it's not that expensive for what it is. And they're releasing it with an adapter specifically for the Retroid Pocket Mini and the Retroid Pocket 5 as well. But then they're also going to be releasing an adapter for the Odin 2, which is pretty interesting. So I wonder how wide they'll kind of cast this net, because I would consider it hypothetically for the Odin 2 Mini. Like I would maybe pull the trigger on that and give that a whirl. It's an interesting idea, at least.
Yeah, if nothing else, you can use it for like chat or something if you're playing a online game with somebody.
Or just like put Spotify up there. Or something.
Yeah, whatever.
Watch a YouTube video. Yeah, that's funny.
Have your walkthrough video up there.
So there have been some hands-on demos with that new Xbox Ally, the new the ROG Xbox Ally and Ally X, I think is what they're calling them.
That is the name. That was announced, I believe, just as we were traveling, John. I think
it was Saturday, right? During the Xbox showcase.
Yeah, that happened at 1 a.m. my time, so I did not watch any of that stuff happen live. But also, it's the Ally X. Here's what I'll say about the Xbox Ally. The Ally X version specifically, having the Z2 Extreme chip in there, that is the only exciting thing here outside of the new operating system. Like I think having a version of a Windows operating system that really strips out so much of the bulk of Windows is really interesting, and the kind of thing that we've talked about many times on this show that like Microsoft really needed to have done maybe even a year or two ago to compete with the Steam Deck. Especially in recent months, I've been seeing a lot more like head-to-head testing on the same device, games running at pretty weak frame rates or pretty bad performance generally. Not like horrible, but like definitely not great performance. Windows versus SteamOS or Bazzite or other Linux distributions. So anything that Microsoft can do to kind of lower the bulk of Windows, I think, is a positive. And that's the thing that I'm most interested about getting my hands on. Like eventually when that launches, whatever that version of Windows is, whatever they end up calling it, I will definitely just like wipe the Windows side of my Ally X and then put that on there instead. And then I'll have like a controller interface on Windows and a controller interface on Bazzite or SteamOS or whatever I have at that point. As far as the handheld goes, I think it's weird that it has ROG Ally buttons on it and not like Xbox controller buttons. I think that's a really strange decision. And then they just like kind of glued an Xbox button onto the left of it, and like that's and then they have these handles. And I think the handles are nice. Honestly, I was thinking about you, Federico. I was thinking about your handheld GameCube that you have and your handheld Wii. Like that just really, they kind of look very similar. They look like very similar devices.
Yeah, it kind of looks like that. It's funny because you got those halves of the controller really sticking out from the display. It's interesting. I'm not sure I want one. I
don't want one. Yeah.
I want to see what this Xbox integration, like the UI layer, is really like.
Yeah.
Like the thing that they said about like, oh, we're gonna hide the desktop process in the background so that it doesn't take up resources. But like, can you really do that on Windows? Like, how are you just hiding the UI layer, or are you actually stopping a bunch of processes in the background?
Are you actually stripping out things you don't need for a console? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. I think that to me is the most interesting thing is how this is going to work from an OS standpoint, because the hardware, I mean, other than the Z2, I don't really see the hardware being super compelling.
Yeah.
Especially if you already have a Windows handheld. At this point I'm kind of holding out for something that is a cut above the current generation of Windows handhelds before I dip back into that world with new hardware.
I feel the same way. I think like, especially after going to CES earlier this year, John, my feeling is like if they're going to come out with a new Z number chip every year, then I'm fine chilling with the Z1 Extreme that I have right now. It is more than powerful enough to play everything that I want on it. The Z2 Extreme, I think, is not really doing it for me. If you're in the market, as you were saying, for a new Windows handheld or a handheld like that, like that's probably solid. But if you have like the Steam Deck still, like the original Steam Deck, you could probably hold out for a little bit longer.
It's so funny to me how despite moving away with all these modern systems on a chip, despite moving away from x86 and from the Intel architecture, here we are once again bumping into Moore's law and the TikTok schedule of the previous Intel chips, where like every couple of years you do see a notable performance bump, but not every year. And so we're I mean, it's just physics, right? We're ending up right where we were like 15 years ago, just with a different architecture. But
that's a good point.
One last news item I want to shout out is I've seen some video of the Anbernic RG slide. A bunch of reviewers got their hands on it recently.
It's thick. It's a thick boy.
It's really thick. I saw it was the Retro Handhelds YouTube channel. They had like a bunch of reviewers just like kind of live streaming together. They were all unboxing it at the same time and like kind of messing around, like giving their first impressions live, which was fun to watch. And the vibe was, this thing is very heavy. This thing is very thick. It is cool, but it's heavy and it's thick. I saw Russ, again, shout out from Retro Game Core, compared it specifically to the original Nintendo DS, the one that everybody called the tank, and they're like almost the same size, which in some ways I think illustrates just how big the thing is. But also, like, when I was a kid, I had the Nintendo DS. I had the original Nintendo DS, and I put that thing in my pocket, and it was fine. And, it was gigantic, but it was fine. I was able to carry it around with me. So I'm very interested in the RG slide. The thing that really concerns me is that they gave it to all of these people and did not tell any of them what the price is. Like, nobody knows what the price of this thing is, and I think that is when you're hiding it at that level, like to the point where you have sent it to people and you're telling them like, hey, you can make videos about this, you can talk about how great it is, but you're still not confident in what the price is going to be.
Yeah, that's not a good sign. Not a good sign.
Yeah, it's not a good sign. As interested as I am in this thing, I don't know.
I do wonder whether that's a tactic or whether that's hedging their bets with things like tariffs,
That's that's very possible.
Maybe a little bit of both. Who knows?
It might be both. Maybe. Yeah. I wonder if by the time they announce the price, they'll be like, and guess what? It's way cheaper than you ever thought it would be. But I just want to say, just kind of backing up, Anbernic's release strategy this year has been very strange. Like last year, the amount of handhelds that they released, one a month, there were like interesting handhelds in there, and they were going after interesting form factors. And this year, it's like every handheld has some specifically weird thing about it. Like
it's chaos this year.
It's chaos.
Because last year it felt like there was a continuum. Like there was, it felt like there was a structure to what was released when and what the form factors were.
The XX line felt like a brand, and it felt like they were building out the XX line like as a brand. It was like they all have the same system on it. They all have the same chipset. And it's just, what form factor do you want? And that was like a cool thing to watch get unveiled over time, kind of leading up to the SP and then the 34XX. But like the 34XX SP having the dual sticks and also like the giant forehead on it, really weird. Oh my God, was it the 35XX Pro that they just released? Like it's the same thing, but also just has two sticks on it for some reason, but not a more powerful chip. And then now you have this thing. Like the RG slide with like no price on it, and it's gigantic and it's thick and it looks like the PSP Go, but like 10 of them stapled together. Like it's really weird. I'm excited about it, but who knows? Can I talk about the Switch too?
Yeah, we want to hear about how it went.
You may.
Tell us a little bit about your journey, because we talked a little bit about how Federico got his and the backstory there, and it sounds like you've got one too.
I want to start by mentioning that Federico sent me the Switch 2 via UPS, which I think was starting out on your end, and I would have done the same thing in your position. A great idea. Weird stuff started happening on the UPS tracking app. I will say Parcel, one of my favorite apps on the iPhone, at a certain point just like lost the plot, had no idea what was happening, and I was like, okay,
they just gave up.
Yeah, things are starting to get weird. Let me check the like official UPS app and see what's going on there. Things started getting weird there too. I Googled UPS Japan. They have 4 locations in Japan. One of them is like a 20-minute walk from my apartment. So I was like, worst case scenario, I can just walk there and I can go pick it up. And the other ones are in like Hokkaido, as far north as possible. One of them's in Osaka, and I forget where the other one is. So there was like one place where it could show up in Tokyo. So I was like, oh, let me just like Google that place. Like, let me go on Google Maps, like see what's up, see what the reviews are. Horrible reviews for UPS Japan. Everyone was like, I never got my package. It was stuck in customs for like 3 months. Like I was so convinced that I wasn't going to get the Switch 2. I called them twice and was like, Eigo ga wakarimasu? Like, do you speak English? Like, can we have a like, I need help with this. Because at a certain point, it kept telling me that it was out for delivery, like over and over and over again. It would be like out for delivery. And I sat here, right where I am recording this. I sat right here. Right here is a sliding door that leads to a balcony, and I would just like be sitting out, looking down all day, waiting
Brendon,
to see.
Oh my God!
Looking for the guy.
If the thing was going to show.
You were like the dog waiting by the window.
It's like literally. Eventually, I said to myself, I can't spend another day sitting here just waiting for the Switch 2 to show up and not have it show up. I'm in Tokyo. I need to go out and do stuff in Tokyo. So
Right.
I went and hit up a restaurant that I wanted to go to. I went to a retro store I wanted to go visit and see if they had some cool stuff. And while I was there, Persia called me and was like, the guy just showed up, went into the building that we're in and just knocked on the door of our apartment. No doorbell, didn't leave it outside, out front. I open up the UPS app. It's still like, we don't have the correct address. Can you please call us and update it with the correct address?
What?
Wild. Anyway, I got the Switch 2.
Okay.
UPS Japan, weird experience. If you're in Japan, maybe don't use them. Maybe use Yamato or
hold
DHL.
on. It's thanks to your wife that you got your Switch 2.
Yeah,
Because
shout out to Persia.
Shout out
Always.
to Persia. Oh,
Always
okay.
shout out to Persia.
Because just the day that you thought, I'm just going to wander around, I'm just going to mind my own business.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a good thing she didn't come with you.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah, she just happened to be taking a nap.
Wow.
And then little knock at the door. Okay. I've had the Switch 2 now for a couple days at this point. I've been playing it a lot. My initial feeling about it as a handheld, as a piece of hardware, is that it feels great from a texture and feel perspective. The screen is amazing. It is so much bigger than the original Switch, and it is still just as flat, and it does not feel good to play in handheld mode. Is my main feeling.
Agreed.
It takes me about 35 minutes, 30 to 35 minutes to start to be I don't think I can play this in handheld mode anymore.
It's a good bit. It's a good bit heavier too.
It's
the
also
other
heavier.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is I think a huge problem in a lot of ways, because I'm an adult man. I'm an adult man, and
Yes,
I'm like,
you
this is too big and heavy to use.
It's too
in
much for
handheld
your
mode.
little arms.
And this is a device made for everybody, for also children. Mario Kart World, the launch title, is a game for kids. This thing is too big for kids to use, I think. And maybe I'm wrong about that. If you have kids and you have and they have a Nintendo Switch too, I'd genuinely love to hear about that experience. But it just feels like the hardware has really, I think, ballooned to a size that makes it a little bit too uncomfortable. I'll talk more about how I'm kind of circumventing that in a second. And maybe people noticed when I showed off my Switch 2 before. But let me just talk about some other stuff. I think last week we didn't talk a lot about mouse mode. I did put a decent amount of time into playing games with mouse mode. And by games, I just mean Fortnite, because it's the only one that I could find that supported mouse mode very natively and very well. And also is free, which is helpful. It's good. I like mouse mode. I'm really surprised at how solid mouse mode is as an experience. I thought it was going to be a little bit, I don't know, a little bit wonky, and it ended up just feeling exactly like a mouse. And I think specifically, as somebody who has played a lot of games on PC in the past, and specifically shooters like Fortnite, the WASD keyboard and mouse experience is cool and fine and good and normal for people who use that. But I think there's something really new and really unique about using the left Joy-Con and using the buttons on the left Joy-Con and then using my right hand as the mouse. That, it feels really good and it feels really natural. And I don't feel like I'm contorting or needing to even learn anything new. I think that was my biggest concern, is that getting into mouse mode, I would be I feel like I need to learn, I need to retrain myself how to do this. Because I remember when they added motion controls or gyro controls to Splatoon, and everyone was like, you got to get into using gyro controls. It's way more accurate than using a controller. It's basically like using a mouse. And then I started using it, and I was like, this is terrible. And then people were like, oh, no, you got to give it a couple hours, got to give it a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and then eventually you'll get it in your head how great gyro controls are. Yeah, and I just could never do that. It just didn't work for me. Versus mouse mode, which immediately clicked, no pun intended, and rocks. It's really great. Have either of you put any more time into mouse mode?
I've used it for a while, and I thought it was incredibly good. It's actually, my hot take is that Nintendo made a better mouse than Apple's Magic Mouse. That is my...
No, that's not too hard. That's not too hard, Chichi.
I know, but it's a pretty good mouse. I mean, you just put it down, and sure, it's kind of small, but it's so responsive, and it's... I don't know. I really liked it. I used it on the plane for a while, and I thought, this is cool. Like this works. It's a very responsive, and the thing that surprised me is that you don't have to like enter a special mode or anything. You just detach the Joy-Con, put it sideways, and it works. That's it.
Yep.
So
yeah, and the little attachment, like the little wrist strap attachment that you can attach, it is awesome. It feels really great. It feels really natural. I'm a really big fan of it. I'm hopeful that more games take advantage of mouse mode. I mean, the other one that's out right now that comes to mind is Civilization 7, which I don't know how compelled I feel to play Civ 7 on my Switch, but it's cool that it's there. And then eventually when like Metroid Prime 4. Oh yeah, Metroid Prime 4.
yes.
That's another game that's coming out soon.
Yes.
When that comes out, that'll also be a big deal.
Yeah, I've got to give it a try. I'll probably give it a try this weekend. It sounds pretty nice.
Does Cyberpunk have it? Feels like Cyberpunk should have it.
Cyberpunk
I
should have it,
don't think so.
but it doesn't. I don't think it does.
That's weird. Yeah, they should patch that in or something. I do want to shout out, John, you mentioned this last week, but battery life is tough.
Very tough.
When you're playing stuff, if you're playing, this is the big distinction I've noticed. If you're playing Switch 2 games, like if you're playing Mario Kart World, for example, it whips through the battery, just eats through it. Like it is. Yeah. You have like maybe an hour and a half of playing Mario Kart World. And I think the thing that's worth considering, and this is the thing that I really want to like drive home, this is the beginning of the life cycle of the Switch 2. And already games are eating through the battery at this level. Imagine when people start making better, quote unquote, use of the hardware and pushing it to its absolute limits. You know, things like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 on the Switch 1, like that level of graphical fidelity that makes you go, how is this running on the Switch 1? When we hit that on the Switch 2, I'm really concerned about what the battery life is going to be like.
Yeah, well, and think about this. I mean, already we've talked about how the thing's flat and it's heavy and it's big. And if you start having people putting out things like battery backpacks for this in order to get more playtime out, it's only going to get heavier and bulkier and more uncomfortable to hold. I mean, we're going to talk during Excel a little bit about traveling with the Switch 2, which Federico and I just did. And that battery life, unless you're on a pretty short flight, you know, you better bring a battery with you.
Yeah.
Or have another way to charge it, you know.
Yeah, hope that the plane has an outlet on it.
Right.
Yeah, I did see Genki already has like an attachable battery bank that you can throw on the back, which I've been interested in. There's a couple accessories in particular that I'm really interested in checking out when I get home specifically.
Yeah, Mechanism has an interesting thing coming too.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's both a grip thing and a system for attaching things to the back.
Yeah, that's cool. I just also, one thing that I do want to shout out before I talk about accessories a little bit. It's interesting that there are the advertised game upgrades, right? So there's like the ones that you can pay for, like the Zeldas of the world, which have like the $10 fee to upgrade to Switch 2 editions. Then there's the free upgrades, which exist for things like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which I've been playing and really blown away by, if I'm being totally honest. Like, you know, there are more issues with that game than just the way the performance was on the Switch 1. But that game with better performance makes it, at least it has me feeling a lot more generous about my feelings about that game than I
it goes a long way. It doesn't solve every problem, but it solves a big chunk of them.
Yeah. Then there's the unadvertised game improvements that are just happening via the Switch being better hardware, or the Switch 2 being better hardware than the Switch 1. So some games here and there just perform better across the board. So games like, for example, Fire Emblem Engage, for some reason, just have better load times, better frame rate, better everything than it did the first time around. But there's also there's a community doc that people are putting together on Reddit. There are also degradations. There are a couple of games that run worse on the Switch 2 than on the Switch 1. So while Fire Emblem Engage runs better, Fire Emblem Three Houses runs worse for some reason.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which is a huge bummer because that's the game I wanted to replay.
Yeah, I had noticed that the load times on other games were significantly better, but I hadn't run across any that were worse yet.
The speed at which you jump into games on the Switch 2 is remarkable. You know, outside of the actual Switch 2, like Mario Kart World takes a long time to load up, but every single Switch 1 game that I've jumped into loads immediately, which I think is remarkable. Okay, let me talk for a second about accessories. So I've been going around to all the like big department stores in Tokyo and just seeing what their Switch 2 setups have been like, and just like a wall of riches to anyone who's interested in Switch 2 accessories, because there are basically a million different cases you can find. There are a million different screen protectors you can find. There are all these companies producing all these different things for the Switch 2. And even companies like Hori, which have, a bunch of Switch 2 cases that they launched, or TomTalk that have a bunch of Switch 2 cases that they launched. First of all of those just being available in a store is really nice compared to needing to buy them online, which is usually the case with both of those companies. But both of them also have like Japan exclusive stuff that I've noticed.
Interesting.
So TomTalk, I noticed a couple cases that they had that were I did not see advertised anywhere in the US or on Amazon or anything like that. And then Hori, actually, they have a TomTalk adjacent case that I ended up buying. Which I love.
I like that color.
Yeah, it's like a bright neon like caution tape yellow or green or whatever you want to call this.
It's kind of halfway in between.
It looks just like the TomTalk case, which I'm very into. And while I was looking around for cases, I also ended up finding a SanDisk Extreme, a micro SD Extreme for the Switch 2, which I had found hard to find online specifically in Japan. But when I walked into a store, there were just like a billion of them there. Weird thing, and let me know in the comments if anybody has figured this out or if anybody has done a deep dive on this yet. Have you guys seen this? There's the Samsung Nintendo licensed SD Extreme card, and then there's also like the Lexar one and the SanDisk official one and all that kind of stuff. But like the Nintendo Samsung one is less than half the price of all the others, but apparently is the same card in terms of like read and write speed.
Oh,
have
that's
you guys
interesting.
Seen that?
No, I didn't realize that Samsung was making a licensed card. Mine I think mine's SanDisk, the one that I ended up picking up.
Yeah, they it has the Mario. It has like the Mario M on it and stuff. But I was just standing in a store today looking at it, and it was literally like less than half the price of the Lexar one that was sitting next to it. But hypothetically, is the same thing. And it seems like nobody can really figure out why that is. But also, it runs just fine. So who knows? And it has the official Nintendo seal of approval, etc.
Right. The non-express ones that they sell, they've been selling them for years with all different characters on them and different capacities. I've used a lot of those, and they've always worked really well. And they are, I don't know that they're necessarily cheaper in the US than other comparable cards, but they all often go on sale on Amazon. So I don't know. Maybe there is some sort of subsidy happening there from Nintendo.
Yeah, weird. The last thing I want to shout out is that while I was looking at cases and while I was looking at screen protectors and SD cards and games and all that kind of stuff, I was trying to find a Pro Controller. I couldn't find one. But what I did find was an entire wall of controller and Joy-Con accessories. And I found this one that I did not buy this. Let me say that first. But the thing that drew my attention to this wall was a Joy-Con attachment that looks like brass knuckles. So you can hold the Joy-Cons like they're brass knuckles. And right next to that, for about $4, I found this, which I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be reversed.
Grips.
Yes, they're TPU grips, which have like a molded kind of ergonomic thing that you can slide the Joy-Con into. That I will show off. Gives the Switch 2 Joy-Con like a more kind of rounded feeling to it.
Yeah, that is nice.
And let me say, I have not really put this through its paces yet, but it does immediately feel a lot better to hold the Switch 2 with these grips on it, which makes me really excited, especially considering, this is a $4 thing that I got from a department store at launch of the Switch 2. I'm excited about like 6 months to a year from now when people have like really kind of perfected these things, because this by itself, even though they feel kind of cheap and flimsy, and also the Joy-Con no longer fit into the like Joy-Con controller grip.
Okay.
It feels really good.
Does it fit in your case with those things?
It does fit in the case.
Okay, good.
Which is nice. That was the other thing I was concerned. My thing was like, it's $4. Like, I'll spend $4 on a thing that maybe doesn't fit in the case, but it does fit in the case, which is nice. So I have this strong feeling that because of the success of Switch 1 accessories, but also how long it took a lot of companies to start cranking them out, I think we're going to see a lot more Switch 2 accessories a lot sooner this time around. I'm thinking things like the MOBA pad controllers that you have, John. Like,
Yep.
I mean,
love
those
to have
came out
that.
like last year,
It did.
in
I
the
only
last
got,
year
like,
of the
6
life cycle.
months. Yeah, I only got like 6 months of use out of them before the Switch 2 came out.
I'm hopeful that we see, those things like that showing up much sooner. Hori with their stuff, and things like the cracked Nitro deck, things like that. Like that's, I would love to see something like that a lot sooner, especially considering the bulk of the Switch 2. I'm kind of excited about what the accessory market's going to look like.
Yeah, I've been kind of holding off myself because I assume that within the next month or two, we'll see a lot more options. I mean, we already mentioned that Mechanism's doing something and Genki is doing things. I think we'll see a lot of those companies that took, 2-3 years to kind of jump into that market.
Yeah.
Do so before the holidays. I think that makes a lot of sense for them to get it, those things out by the fall, so people are buying them for under the Christmas tree or whatever.
Yeah. I will realistically end up probably getting the D-brand kill switch for the Switch 2 as well.
I was looking at that again on the way home last night on the plane, and I was thinking, yeah, I should probably get this. Get this because it looks pretty good.
It looks pretty good. I have it on the ROG Ally X and the travel case, and like that's how I travel with that thing now. I love it to death. And honestly, I mean, if the one on the Switch 2 is anything even remotely close to that, then I'll be very happy.
Yeah.
But I think that's it. I think that's it for the show this week.
All right.
Thank you, Brendon. Thank you.
Thank you for dragging us along on this journey, Brendon.
Absolutely. Hey, more than happy to.
Thank you for knowing how to use the English language up today.
Absolutely, buddy.
Yeah,
we're looking poor Federico over there. I think he's gone into a coma.
No. I am a good listener.
You are a very good listener. Yes. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for supporting us on Patreon. We are going to get ready and do our NPC XL version right now, and we're gonna talk a little bit about traveling with the Nintendo Switch 2. You can find Brendon over at wavelengths.online and on Into the Aether. Federico and I are over at macstories.net doing other podcasts and writing all the time. And with that, guys, say goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.